Jeff and Jeremy in the morning.
Lori, I know you wanted to hear that romantic song about whatever it was. Instead, we decided to do another romantic song called Love in an Elevator. So that was for you, Lori.
You give us a request of what you want to hear, and we'll tell you what's a better option. That's our new format.
Jeff and Jeremy in the morning. Don't miss a moment. Subscribe to the podcast by clicking on Jeff and Jeremy at KZOZ.com.
Gary Kramer from Kramer Guitars. Gary, good morning. Thanks for jumping on with us.
Hey, good morning. Thanks, guys, for thinking about me during this tragic time.
Well,
we lost another great hero. So
yeah, it's so sad. Yesterday, it was the outpouring on social media was, so big. It's like, one of those, and Eddie Van Halen never had a lot to say. He always said it with his fingers on his and yours, I guess, guitars. It was just the outpouring that came out yesterday. I did not expect that because I think a lot of people knew that, he was sick for a while. Did you have any knowledge of how sick he had been over the past couple of years?
Well, I knew he was suffering with throat cancer, and he'd gone back to either Austria or Germany to see a specialist, and I hadn't heard a word for a long, long time because I kind of figured he was in remission, but evidently not. So, no, I didn't. And yesterday when I was working in my vineyard, and I don't have any cell out there, I didn't really receive a phone call till late in the afternoon to find out that he actually died. My wife called me, and I just dropped the phone in the middle of my vineyard. I was stunned. It was unbelievable.
Talk about that relationship a little bit and kind of how it got started, how you met, and how that decision was made that he was going to go with Kramer Guitars.
I kind of left Kramer Guitars back in the late 70s, towards 1978. My partner Dennis kind of took over. I came out here to California to become an artist relations manager because I wasn't going to live back in Jersey anymore. And my relationship with Eddie was only at the NAMM shows every year. And in the early 80s, Dennis would call me up and he would tell me that Eddie had just come aboard and they were signing him, and then he was trying to get him to get together with Floyd Rose, obviously, who makes that tailpiece tremolo. Because Eddie could never really keep his guitars in tune because there wasn't anything out there yet. And when Floyd and Kramer and Eddie all came together in one big pot, they put together this guitar, and then that's when Kramer just took off and flew. I would get phone calls from Dennis at the factory saying that the rumor is Eddie's going to be here today, and all the employees would dress up for it, and people would come around, he was just so popular. And at the NAMM show, we'd have these huge booths where we'd be showing our guitars and our products. And if Eddie was going to be there to kind of, because he was an endorsee, hundreds of people would come. And of course, later on, Kramer would throw the biggest parties ever. They would rent the Anaheim Civic Center for the entire show for Eddie. There'd be people like Billy Idol there, and Steve Stevens, and so on and so on. But my relationship with Eddie basically was only at NAMM shows because I was here in California, and we would share beers together. We would talk once in a while about guitars and why I was in guitars. And, I don't play guitar. And he says, I know Leo Fender and Gary Kramer, only two guitar makers that don't play. So we laughed about that.
How does that work? How does that work that you don't play guitar?
Well, it's like the guy who builds Boeing jet planes doesn't fly a jet plane. Right. He's got engineers and people who follow his design. Pretty much the same way. I've always had luthiers that had worked for me, and if I had a design and I would think about it at night, I'd go back to the tables the next day and I'd tell luthiers or designers, this is how I want it, this is what is going to happen. That's how that works.
So at the Gary Kramer Guitar Cellars in Paso Robles, if we asked you to take one of the guitars off the wall and plug it into an amp and play it, you would not be able to do so?
No. Absolutely not. I've probably taken guitar lessons for the last 60 years, and I can never do it. I have no dexterity in my left hand whatsoever.
Really?
But I know a good guitar player when I hear one, and I've heard a lot of guitar players.
Now,
and by the way, guys, I'm sitting in my tribute. Eddie, I'm sitting right now at the Cellars. I'm in a room where it's a tribute to Eddie, and I kind of have a tear in my eye because I'm looking at his guitar and I'm looking at all the photos and all the pictures and everything he did through the years. So
it's quite a setup that you have at the Guitar Cellars, and anybody, I know that, with coronavirus and some of the things that you got going on, you haven't been open for a while. Do you have a guesstimate of when you will be reopening again?
I've taken advantage of the coronavirus, and the buildings that are directly behind me, I was able to purchase them. And I've got another 4,000 square feet that we've been building a beautiful venue in. It's got a complete state-of-the-art new stage with a lighting system. It can facilitate about 65 people. We've expanded our kitchen, so it'll be like a dinner club. It'll be actually the only showcase club around in Paso Robles.
So it'll be obviously Kramer wines, and then it'll be what? Could you have beer there too?
Well, I have beer, and the ABC gave me. I'm basically the only wine tasting lounge in the area that can serve beer because we have a kitchen, and I have somebody right now making me a beer, an IPA. It's called 5150 Kramer Crazy.
I like that. That's good.
Yeah, and it's actually in one of Eddie's decorative cans with the stripes on it. So it's pretty cool. Good beer too.
So do you have a anticipated date in which you'll be rocking and rolling, pardon the pun, with the new facilities?
Yeah, I'm looking at about 6 more weeks. It's just been a real toll because I brought instruments out of my safe that nobody had seen for 40 years, maybe 45 years, that are now encased in the walls in there. So I'm making it really special. On top of what I already have here, the new room is even different. And I don't have LED lights in the cases I have here now because they didn't exist when I built this place 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. Now everything in the new venue with the stage and the dance floor is all LED lit up in the walls. It's neat. I'm very proud of it.
Oh, we're excited.
Sounds like
I can't wait for everybody to see it.
Oh, yeah, it's exciting.
You got to wait for the Rona.
It's good that you're offering up that for Paso Robles because there's nothing really. I mean, it's there's a lot of tasting rooms, but not a lot of event space like that where you can get a bunch of people together once everything settles down.
What is the plan with this space? Are you thinking about actually booking bands to play like other venues do? Are you looking at renting this out as a private space for banquets?
Well, actually, my plan is I'm trying to get the best bands booked in here that I possibly can around. And then, of course, there's people already that want to book it for private events. They want to have a wedding party here or a birthday party here, privately. Which we can accommodate because we're hiring guest chefs that are coming in. I think my wife wants to do it twice a month. She's going to have a guest chef come in. It'll be like a supper club. We'll have a special band playing, and then we'll serve our wine, and it'll be one of those kind of events that they have over at the big wineries. But you don't really have to drive that far. So if you drink too much, you can just get into an Uber, and it only costs you $6 instead of $60.
Centrally located. I like that.
Yeah.
Nothing like getting in a car and then looking at your Uber account the next morning and you go, $85? What the hell?
One unique thing about Eddie that really struck you that you didn't see in other guitar players.
He invented tapping. I've never seen that before. And I remember one time that he actually took a Makita drill. I don't know if you ever seen that video, but I actually saw him do it in person. He took a Makita drill to his strings and actually played a song.
Really? I never saw
that. It sounded pretty good, too. The spinning part of the Makita, the big part, well, he actually turned it on and he ran that up and down the strings, and, it was incredible.
Just the innovation to even try that. You'd be like when you sitting around, you're playing on the guitar, it catches your eye out of the corner. You're like, I wonder what that would sound like on the deck. There's a player.
Yeah, and Eddie, and Eddie didn't read music at all. Yeah. Everything was by ear. Amazing. It's just such a tragedy that another great guitar player is just gone. You know, it's just he's probably walking that stairway to heaven right now, and you know who's going to be at the top to greet him is Stevie and Jimmy right now.
Yeah.
And they're probably going to ask him how to play.
Man, if you could get, you know, when it's all said and done, Gary, you get an event space up in heaven. You got some good connections, my friend.
Yeah, that'd be nice, you know.
Well, thanks for jumping on and taking a few minutes to talk about Eddie. And then I'm excited to see this new venue up in Paso Robles. You can check out Gary and what he's got going on at Gary Kramer Cellars.com.
Jeff and Jeremy in the morning.
What do you think barbecue sauce should be on? Obviously, barbecue, right?
Broccoli. I mean, anything, really.
Isn't that counterproductive?
Anything, really.
Jeff and Jeremy in the morning. Don't miss a moment. Subscribe to the podcast on Google, Apple, YouTube, and Podbean by clicking on Jeff and Jeremy at KZOZ.com.